everyone to another episode of Spooky Japan Podcast. I'm hoping everyone is doing well today. Today we have a very special guest with us, Rich Valdez. How you doing today, Rich?
I'm doing good. How are you?
We're doing pretty good. So for those who don't know who you are, how would you introduce yourself?
Rich Valdez. I'm I've been investigating the paranormal for 40 years. Been recognized as a demonologist by two churches for 36 years. Presently working for the United States Old Catholic Church. Um, some people would know me from Eli Roth Presents the Legion of Exorcists or an episode that I did on a haunting many years ago.
Okay. Where did paranormal start for you? What was your first experience? What got you into it?
My first experience was with a OBE experience. I was 15 years old. I thought I was having a dream, and I was dreaming. At least I thought it was a dream that I was in my aunt's room. My aunt, just to give you a little background, was Down syndrome. And I remember getting up from her bed. I was looking out her eyes and walking to the door and of her room. And all of a sudden, I blacked out, and I had this sensation of just falling. And when I was awakened with my mother pounding on the door to wake up, I couldn't move, and I ended up having to wait until I could gain movement back into my body because I was literally, I was present in there, but I couldn't move my body. It was sleep paralysis.
Mm.
When I finally did gain movement of my body and my faculties, I put my clothes on, ran 5 blocks, and I found my aunt exactly where I left her in what I thought was a dream, right at the doorway of her bedroom.
That'd be an interesting experience, definitely at 15 years old. I can only imagine. So it just kind of grew from there and you started investigating soon after?
Not really. After that, I did a lot of research. I started going to the public library. I would read anything and anything that had to do with the paranormal. There was a book called ESP, Extrasensory Perception. And that's the first book I started reading. And that's when I found the term OBE, out of body experience. And finally, everything made sense.
Yeah, I can definitely. So I'm assuming you've done a lot of research on the paranormal then. Has there ever been a place that's been like too scary for you to go to?
Not really. The way I perceive it is that any place that I go to investigate, I usually do more residentials than haunted locations. To be honest with you, that are commercial, and I try to. Uh, I have a certain understanding that what we are experiencing is what they're experiencing with us.
Right.
To them, we're actually very, very. It's like it's kind of like they see us sometimes, we see them sometimes.
Hmm.
It's just just as scary for them. So I always put myself in that mind frame, so that I never really go in fearing anything. Really, I'm usually the one that runs to where that noise or movement came from.
I've always wondered. I'm glad you said it because I've always wondered if the spirits can see us, like in a haunted house, a haunted location. I always wondered how aware are they of us at the location.
Well, one of the examples I've always used is one of my favorite movies, The Others, with Nicole Kidman in it, and how for the whole, spoiler alert, the whole movie, everyone's thinking that Nicole Kidman and her children are the living, and then
Yeah.
towards the end, you discover they're the dead. and I think that's how they perceive us. But that's why I've also never provoked, because we don't know who lived there before.
Right.
And I wouldn't like it if someone walked into my house and started screaming at me and telling me to get out of my own house. So I go in very respectful.
Yeah, that's what we say here in Japan. If you go into a house, even if they are aware, you still ask permission to enter and say, "I'm just here to talk to you, not harm you." Because other
Exactly.
than that, it's just like we compare it to, if you don't, it's like someone busted in your door and started demanding to talk to you. You may be friendly, but in that instance, you're not going to be very friendly to them.
Correct.
How did you become a demonologist and why?
Um, my pastor approached me when I was 17 years old. I was actually just 1 month away from becoming 18, and he had known me since I was 11 years old, and he knew that I had this fascination for studying angels and demons and whatnot for
Mhm.
many years in the scriptures. And he approached me and he said, "Rich, I really feel that you have a calling for this. And you may want to look into becoming a demonologist." And that was the first time I had ever heard the term demonologist.
Mhm.
And he said, "I'm willing to mentor you. Um, as soon as you turn 18, take some time to think about it, pray about it, get back to me." And I did. About a week and a half later, I let him know, and then he said, "Okay, well, we'll wait until you're 18, and then from there we'll start studying everything there has to be known." But the one thing that he also asked me to pray for is make sure it's a calling. This is just not something that anybody just picks up and starts
Right.
doing. This is something that you have to feel an actual pull, a draw to, not out of fascination, but simply because you can simply read anything that has to do with demonic, ain't fallen angels or
Mhm.
anything or occult practices, and you
Mhm.
immediately pick up on it. And I've always had an inkling for it and a
Mhm.
draw. So that's how I've always known. And it's not an easy life, I'll tell you that.
Mhm.
No,
Um. Yeah. Sometimes people ask, well, this is really cool. Like I wish I could do what you do. And I said, no, you don't. No, you don't. And that's why I keep on telling them. They said, why not? I said, because you don't want it. And
You know,
even what I do, I say to people, no, you don't. No, you don't. No, you don't want it. And you know what? They don't understand that having a certain gift is not something that, I don't know, you find it something cool or interesting. In fact, I hate it sometimes, right? I wish sometimes I didn't have it, but here I am, right? And Amanda's coming into her abilities, and I said to people, with these gifts comes grave responsibility, and you have to treat it with respect. And it's just not something that you can say, hey, let's have fun. No, we don't. And it's can be very difficult, can be very hard, it can be very nerve wracking too. And would it be the same way for you?
well, I don't consider this a gift. I consider this more a calling. If you're speaking of psychic medium gifts, or if,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the only gift that I could possibly claim to have would be empathic.
Mm-hmm.
I think that helps me when it comes down to interviewing clients.
Mm-hmm.
But other than a calling itself, it's something that I wish I would not have been present for when they were handing out callings,
Mm-hmm.
because
Yeah.
I must have been, I don't know, I must have hit myself in the head up there
Yeah.
and chosen
Yeah.
the wrong box, and then when I got down here I was like, damn.
What
um
the heck did I do? Right.
yeah,
exactly, because the moment you realize this is a calling, it also comes with it comes with the territory of you have a bullseye on you.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
your life, and I've said this to whomever has chosen to be a part of my life. And I've always told them, get ready,
Yeah.
because I got a target on me, and
Yeah.
everyone
Yeah.
that's known me, they know.
Yeah. The thing is that, like, they see you coming, right? They know
So
you're
they know
coming.
you're coming before you
They
leave.
can smell you a mile away, right?
Hey, I know I bathe,
Yeah,
but
yeah, me too. Me too. Like it's like they're a hound dog, and then you're the bait, and then you say, "Oh shit!" Like
yeah.
that's what I see. And, and especially when I went to one location in near in Hiroshima, and yeah, they saw me coming like a mile away, and they said, "Aha, I got you. I can see you." I said, "No, you can't." You don't say, "No, you can't." But yeah, I know they pegged me. Okay, I got it. So, and
I think with me it's different. They know that I've been involved in
Mhm,
ridding
mhm,
their buddies
mhm.
from situations, from
Yeah,
locations, people,
yeah, yeah.
and that's how you get the target on your back.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
they know you.
When I do, I had this one residential that I did, and they smelled me a while away. Knew that I was there, and they started cursing at me. I said, "You're not gonna curse at me because it's not gonna work. Ha ha ha! I can get rid of you like a second." Like they said, "No, you can't." I said, "Yes, I can." You dare me? Like it was this really nasty, friggin' dark spirit. But yeah, I won. He lost.
There you go.
Um. Yeah. Yeah. It's. How do you feel about people who claim they are paranormal investigators, but they really mess up a thing, and they really, especially if it's something that starts with uh, a really bad entity.
Um, that seems to be the problem nowadays. That I believe a lot of shows that have been
Mm-hmm.
out there encourage people to think that everything is demonic. And to be
Mm-hmm.
honest with you, it's not.
No.
It's very very rare, and oftentimes these people that encourage people to think
Mm-hmm.
that there is something demonic there. What they're actually doing is making the situation worse, not only for the spirits, but also the people that live in those homes.
Yeah.
And I usually that's what the paranormal clergy gets called
Mm-hmm.
in to
Mm-hmm.
actually do, is clean up after these other teams that mess things up.
Yeah.
Do
What
you
about the one?
find do you find yourself running into a lot of people, especially when you say the clergy is called in to clean up those cases? A lot of them are people who claim to be demonologists, but they never trained, they never studied, they just woke up
Yeah.
like, what a cool name! I'm a demonologist. I'm in a
Yeah.
demon.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've come across, well, I myself too, over the years have come across a plethora of individuals that are self-proclaimed demonologists, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
those are the ones that really mess things up, because they have no formal training in theology. They've never actually studied anything that has to do with demonology. I'm actually recognized by two churches. I can
Mm-hmm.
actually call those churches to back up the fact that I do work for them, but I only work for one right now.
Mm-hmm.
I have my certification. I've been recognized by the two. You ask anybody, and this is, a little piece of advice for any other teams out there, or clients, I should say. If you call in a team and they happen to have a resident demonologist,
Mm-hmm.
ask for their credentials.
Yeah.
Ask what church they work for. Ask
Mm-hmm.
if they have any credentials that they can prove, especially the first one.
Yeah.
If they tell you, oh, no, I don't work for a church, I'm like, well, then that's when you should tell them to get going,
Yeah.
because they're going to make things worse.
What about the 1% that you do investigate? That's pretty nasty. Um, what is your like overall experience, and just dipping into? You don't have to go into deep. explanation, but what have you found that maybe the public can probably listen to?
Uh, and as in human
Mm-hmm.
hauntings, uh,
Mm-hmm.
I think there was one that involved an uncle that was that was sexually abusive in life, and this was many years back. I'd say about 21 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
He started coming back. It was about a year and a half after he had passed away, and he started visiting his niece.
Mm-hmm.
That was the his target when she was a child, and
Mm-hmm.
um, at first, there was a team that went in and they thought it was demonic, and then I
Mm-hmm.
went and I was able to prove it wasn't demonic, but
Mm-hmm.
through EVPs, I discovered that this was the uncle who had passed away about a year and a half coming back, and he was actually still in spirit, in death, trying to rape his niece. It happens.
Mm-hmm.
Why there's oftentimes a lot of paranormal teams that they watch way too many shows and they watch what these people are always saying. They think that the moment they scream demon as well. But you have to actually, uh, not leave any stone unturned. And
Yeah.
you have to really do your research before you jump into any conclusions.
Mhm.
The public seems to think if it's a haunting, it's a demonic haunting. But I have to say, no, it isn't. It's just a dark spirit. I can help you, and then I cleanse the house, and it's done, and we're good. And the homeowners, oh, they're happy as can be. But I mean, there are cases that have really bad juju to it, and the thing is that I have never been to one. I don't think I want to, but I mean, you can't tell, right? And it's just, I do interviews with the client too, and I talk to them, and I go through their home, and I see what there is. But yeah, I just don't know. Because physically, I know what I can do, and I know what I can do. I know what my limitations are, right?
Hmm.
Because I know them physically, and I know them mentally, and I do meditate, and I do my thing, what I have to do, especially before I go into the situation. 3 days prior to it, it's just really hard as not an I'm not an investigator. I don't know what I am. Okay, I don't like these labels because I don't know. I have no idea what the heck I am because I don't call myself a clairvoyant. I don't call myself an investigator. I just person who helps people. I think that's what I do, and it's it's a hard job to get used to, and it's either rewarding or it's really sad, and you can end up sitting there crying all week.
Oh, the only reward really is helping people and knowing you've helped them.
Yeah.
But more often than not, oftentimes people are their own worst enemy and they don't take your advice.
Mm-hmm.
They jump from one person to another team, to another until they find the person that's willing to be their enabler,
Yeah.
and tells them what they want to hear, what they've already convinced themselves that they
Yeah.
are dealing with, when in fact that's really not what it is. The times I've been called in to actually consult on a case as a demonologist by a person that is convinced they're dealing with a demon, and I go ahead and tell them, no, this is not demonic, they actually get very mad at me,
Yeah.
and that in itself is the issue.
Yeah.
It's the equivalency of you going to a doctor, you think you have cancer,
Mm-hmm.
and the doctor tells you, no, you don't have cancer, you have something else, but it's
Yeah.
treatable.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, that person, that patient says, no, I don't believe you. I know you're a doctor, but I think you're wrong. I think
Mm-hmm.
I have cancer. Would you
Yeah.
rather have cancer, or would you
Yeah.
rather it be something else?
Yeah.
That's something
Yeah.
that's treatable, something that you could take medication for.
Yeah. With your kids, have you ever had one really hard case that you had to go back over and over and go over
Oh
again?
yeah, yeah. I mean, people
Could
seem to think that this is like the movies or the TV shows
Mhm.
where you go in, you slay the monster, and everything's fine and back to normal.
Yeah.
That doesn't exist. I had a case actually that took me 5 years of going back and back over and over and over again. And unfortunately, that's the reality behind dealing with something that's inhuman.
Hmm.
It's just not you go in there and wave a magic wand and it goes away.
Hmm.
Oftentimes, there's more than one demon. There's more than just demonic going on. There's
Hmm.
human haunts as well. And I had a case that actually lasted 5 years. I had to keep coming back. It's not that I'm a failure or anything like that.
No.
It's just that
Mhm.
they become so attached to what's going on in their life for so many years before you get to them. It's hard to change that person's perception of how to actually get rid of the situation that's happened to them and happening to them at that time. So those cases, yeah, they're still very, very prevalent.
Amanda, go ahead.
So I'm kind of curious on your perspective or your thoughts on this, but do you think Lucifer fell from heaven before Adam and Eve, or during the whole Adam and Eve thing?
No, that was way before Adam and Eve. Lucifer and a third of heaven actually fell,
Mhm.
and they didn't fall to hell as people would like to believe. If you read the scriptures, it states that
Yeah.
they fell to earth. People like to also believe that the devil and his demons are all in hell going, ooh, ha, ha, what are we going to do next? They're not. They're actually in our plane of existence.
Yeah.
They influence our governments. They influence our everyday lives. The old analogy of an angel on one shoulder and the devil on the other.
Hmm.
And this is pretty much how our lives are on a regular basis. And
Exactly.
they usually don't attack the people that are heavily into them or what they use as a way to come through, like the occult. They attack the faithful, the ones that try to actually lead a good life. And I can tell you this much: my life has been like a roller coaster and a lot of loop de loops because I'm if they don't attack me, they'll attack the people I love around me.
Right.
Mm, yeah.
That's how it works.
Yeah.
It's the
Uh,
divide and conquer mentality that they have, and it works every time.
how do you prepare yourself before you go into a situation where you know there has been um not a spirit but an entity that has invaded a person?
Well, before I can even get to that conclusion or come to that conclusion, I should
Hmm.
say, I have to do testing.
Hmm.
I have to make sure that that individual has had a mental health evaluation done on them. And that needs to be done first because I have to follow the rules that the United States Old Catholic Church has imparted
Hmm.
upon me as a
Hmm.
demonologist.
Hmm.
Once all of that has been removed, which is what I call red tape, but it's a necessary red tape that needs to be
Hmm.
implemented. I usually am not the one that goes in to rid someone of a demon. My
Hmm.
job as a demonologist is to find out if there even is something demonic there. If there is,
Hmm.
that's when I'll call either Bishop Long or I'll call Father Golden or any other individual that's in the clergy
Hmm.
that I work with to do their job. If they
Hmm.
need my assistance, I'll assist.
Hmm.
But oftentimes, I don't. I always go in with an open mind, but I always go in prepared. You would ask me how I prepare myself. I always pray, and I always ask for protection, not only for myself but for my
Hmm.
family
Mhm.
And I even pray for the clients that I'm gonna be going in to help, because whatever may or may not be there, I do not want anyone being harmed. But
Mhm.
usually the messenger is the first one to get harmed, and that would be
Mhm.
this guy right here.
Mhm. Yeah. Um. It's really hard for me to tell you this, but I mean, Catholics, the ones that I have dealt with, really don't like what I do. Okay, and it's really hard for me to say, hey, I'm I'm not an evil person. I'm there to help people, and it's I call it a given gift. Okay, and obviously the church really doesn't recognize me, but I get really weird looks by priests, and I get really weird looks by the followers, and I don't. It's not that I don't want to go to church anymore. It's just that I'm hurt, okay, by that, and I just don't know what to do with that feeling that I have. So I have to put that aside and do what I like to do and do what I do to help people. It,
One of the problems I've noticed is that religion nowadays has actually been weaponized.
yeah,
Um, and that's one of the things, one of the issues I have a problem with religion.
yeah,
Um, we're our job as the faithful,
mhm,
whatever your faith may be it
mhm,
Buddhist, Native American,
yeah, yeah,
Christian or whatnot, is never to judge.
yeah,
Uh, the church are really the people.
mhm,
It's not a
yeah,
building.
yeah,
And when I see these evangelicals on TV
mhm,
judging other people for being different
yeah,
and judging them because of whatever they may believe in, because it doesn't reflect the same thing that they believe
mhm,
in there, that lie is where lies the problem. We're
yeah,
creating more exclusivity. You're excluding people
yeah,
by doing this. This is why
Mhm.
you feel the way you feel,
yeah,
Irene, because maybe along the line, and I'm just guessing, you've had people judge you based off of your gift.
yeah,
Okay. Well, even the Bible speaks of giving the gift of discernment of spirits. Now,
yeah.
notice I stated discernment of spirits. It doesn't state what kind of spirits.
No,
So we have to bear in mind that discernment of spirits, is that not what we would call mediumship?
yeah, yeah. Even Amanda had her. She came into it very young in life, and me, it's after. But I mean, because she was told that they were devils, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, because they believe everything's a demon, and if you have a gift, then you're doing something. You're either doing witchcraft, or you're summoning a demon, or worshiping the devil, or just you're doing something to either they're like you're either have a demon attachment to see them, or you're possessed by one to be able to see them. And especially you as a kid, I'm like, I'm not doing any of that. Especially
No,
when people are like, oh, you must be doing witchcraft. My only idea then of witchcraft was the movie Hocus Pocus. I'm like, I'm not doing that. I don't know anything about it to even do it.
yeah,
People always need some scapegoat,
yeah,
and they reflect their fears onto other people. If you're different, if you have a gift,
mm,
and the church, not every church is the same way, but the grand majority of churches tend to be the ones that propagate this type of fear.
yeah, yeah.
And I mean, the Christian, the history when it comes to Christianity is not a very pretty one either.
No,
We have the Crusades, we
mm-hmm,
have the witch trials.
mm-hmm,
And that's something that the church should very well be very ashamed of, because
mm-hmm,
those were people that were judged for being witches
mm-hmm,
and judged for worshiping the devil. Okay, yet they were actually what we call nowadays, ironically, midwives or pharmacists.
Yeah.
Because if
Yeah.
it wasn't for them, we wouldn't have medicine today.
They did the same thing to they did the same thing to women who gave herbs to the sick. And in Japan, if you're a male, you'd be called a doctor, but if you're a female, you'd be called a witch. And they did the same thing to women, except they did that to women and their children. So the children would not grow up and come after the samurai for killing their mom, right?
Mhm.
So yeah, I mean, it didn't happen in the United States. It happened probably in Japan. It happened elsewhere in the world, right? So yeah, I could see that happening, and I think it was worldwide, right? The witch trials and everything else like that.
Well,
So
one of the things that I learned actually about a month ago, and it completely shocked me.
mhm,
I was actually watching a podcast, and there was someone in there. I believe her name is MJ Dickinson, if I'm not mistaken, and she's from South Africa.
mhm,
And she actually shed some light on something that I thought was,
mhm,
long gone. But in
mhm,
South Africa, they actually have a police force that devotes themselves to calls that of people that see witches, ghosts, demons, and if they find you to be a witch or practicing some kind of black magic, they will burn you to death in South Africa. There were over 200 burnings last year in 2023 alone in South Africa. It's the law there. It's still happening.
yeah. I just can't fathom that to this day it happens, and it's frightening.
It
It's
is.
It's
fright.
insane.
It's frightening to
It's
be.
against the law. Think about that.
Yeah.
Think about being in a country where if the law there, the law enforcement actually considers you to be a witch or someone that practices black magic, they actually don't have to take you to before a judge and jury. They are
Mhm,
judge and jury right then and there. They kill you. You will
mhm,
not be incarcerated. They will burn you
yeah.
right there and your home.
Damn.
I kind
Well,
of wish.
we know better.
I
I'm not
kind of
going to
wish
South
we
Africa
had.
either. I refuse
Yeah.
to go there.
I kind of wish we had something here that helps people though, because here in Japan, I mean, Japan is mostly haunted, but you don't have any paranormal investigators, don't have any demonologists, you don't have anything. And Irene can tell you, you have a haunted location. No one's coming out to help you. You're on your own.
Yeah.
I'm the only familiarity that I have with Japan is Hungry Ghosts. I
Mhm,
know of those, the Hunger
mhm,
Ghosts, and I also
mhm.
know of that forest. I forget the name of the forest
Aokihara.
where they've committed suicide and they
Yeah.
actually okay. And but there's a lot of folklore that exists
Mm,
throughout the world and
mhm,
things that I've had to study over the years through
mhm,
theology. And
mhm,
I find it, fascinating that there's so many countries out there that are still in the dark ages
Yeah.
mhm,
and some that are so advanced like the United States,
mhm.
yet we can't seem to get past the fact that a lot of the pictures that we take nowadays with digital cameras capture more dust
Yeah.
than they do ghosts, and we call them
Yeah.
orbs when in
Yeah.
fact it's dust, moisture, bugs or whatnot. But hey,
Yeah.
I posted something like that yesterday, and I got a lot of people laughing. It was a picture of Pledge,
Mm,
taking care of orbs since 1946, and there were people laughing at it. One person got pissed off,
mm,
and they got pissed off at my girlfriend, and I'm here thinking to myself, why?
yeah.
Because she said that she's dealt with people that believe that all orbs are spirits. They just don't understand the technology behind
Yeah.
digital cameras.
Yeah. That's why I like an old 35 millimeter camera, and I like the film that comes with it because I used to be able to develop film and print pictures from a machine to do that, and I could read negatives. And yeah, I had a lot of good use out of that one because you can tell the difference between an orb and dust, right? And there's just so much different. And usually, the digital cameras come out, but they're not that good, right? They're kind of like slow and picking up certain things, and yeah,
Well, digital cameras have a technology that will pick up anything that's close to the lens.
yeah,
And this, as soon as the flash goes off or the shutter, opens and closes,
yeah,
that is perceived by our naked eyes to be
yeah, yeah.
something spooky, something ghostly, but it's not. It's usually dust,
Yeah,
or something else altogether. But
yeah.
since you've worked with film, and I'm kind of telling on my age here. I'm 54 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So I used to work with film, and I remember I never came across orbs at all.
No.
It was only when digital cameras came out that everyone started capturing orbs left and right, and it was either moisture, dust, or something else altogether.
Yeah, that's true. And you have to really clean that lens,
I
It's
actually prefer to use Polaroid now. I'm glad
yeah,
Polaroids come back.
yeah, yeah. And 35 millimeters coming back too. And they're creating a new machine that can process film now. So that's what they're doing in Japan now. But
Hmm.
yeah, because there's been a call for it to come back, and not everything digital is good. That's what they're saying. And you know,
I think we should go back to film,
yeah,
honestly.
I think so too. And I do too. I agree with you 100% there too. Yeah.
Do you
Um,
feel that all equipment is there any unnecessary equipment for investigations, do you feel?
I welcome all equipment, to be honest with you, because we're still this field has existed since I would say the Victorian age,
mhm,
and on. Um, that's how Ouija board got started. That's how, seances and anything like that. And then it
mhm,
evolved. It became spirit photography. And um, I, I always encourage any and all theories on how to communicate with spirit
mhm,
using technology, because it may actually work. Uh,
mhm,
it's like when it came to the first EVP.
mhm,
Who the hell would have thought that you were going to capture a disembodied spirit on a
mhm,
voice recorder
mhm,
or on the other end of a phone when there
mhm,
was no other phone,
mhm,
yet someone came through? And
mhm,
this was as far back as Bell.
mhm,
So we have to think a lot of times what we don't think will not work usually
mhm.
becomes what does work.
I'm a skeptic, a really bad skeptic when it comes to voice recordings and stuff like that. Probably because I can hear spirits talk to me. Okay, I have a good round out on conversation. I can do that, right? I can talk to them like I'm talking to you. Okay, but their voices is like a whisper in my
Mhm.
ear, and I've trained my ear to hear everything, and it works for me because I don't like equipment. I hate to say it. I don't like equipment because how do I know that that spirit is saying what it is? And how do you differentiate that that's a real spirit talking to you? It's not something that came off the, whatever. And that's what I'm trying to tell people, that you don't know that that spirit's really talking. And how do you know it comes off as some kind of uh, radio wavelength or something like that, right? So I'm kind of like really weird, but I do like them, as if I talk to them and somebody has a voice recorder, and it says yes, that's what that spirit says, or yes, that's that person's name. It just complements what I just heard. That's the only
Yeah,
time
I
I'm like,
think if anything, that's what it should do.
yeah,
When you have a psychic medium and like yourself, and there's EVP being done at the same time,
mm-hmm,
if you've already picked up the name
mm-hmm,
and then the name comes through during
mm-hmm,
an EVP session, it's
mm-hmm,
just validation and it's something you already knew coming, before it
Mhm.
even showed up on the voice recorder.
It's more validation for people who don't have the gift, who didn't hear it with you, Irene, because you could be like, I
Yes.
hear the name Steve, and then
Yeah.
also they hear in the recorder, what's your name? Steve. Okay.
Yes. Okay. Then you got that. What do you feel about really dark entities?
As you were in life, so shall you be in death.
That's a good.
As I stated, that one case that years ago I had,
Mm-hmm.
where the uncle came back
Mm-hmm.
about a year and a half later, and started attacking his niece again, sexually, the same way he did in life. People are always under this impression, oh, now I'm dead and I'm good and I'm aware of all the bad that I did. That's BS.
Yeah.
Let's be honest, sometimes you don't, just because you're dead and you're in the great beyond doesn't mean that you're now been made aware of all the evil things you've done and you're going to make up for it. That's not how it works. Oftentimes those people are truly evil incarnate, and as they were in life, they will be in death.
Have you? Okay. I hate to say this. Have you seen a really bad demonic spirit?
Have I seen what?
A really bad demonic spirit.
I had one that I actually had to. It took me, because it would pop in every. This went on for 6 years, and this demon was actually popping into the EVPs. Its name, it would, sport its name a lot, and I was like, good to God. I mean, when is this thing going to leave? Because I was actually involved in getting rid of this spirit and helping get rid of this spirit. And let me just state this real quick. It's not me. It's my faith in God, and God's the one that does the work. I don't do it at all. I'm simply the messenger. But since I was involved in evicting this demonic spirit, it took about 6 years. This thing followed me every single case that I had. And it was, I'd say, oh my goodness, I close to about 6 years. So we had a case almost every other week. I'd say close to about 80 cases where in the EVP the name actually came through over and over and over. It was following me. It wasn't the people that we were investigating for. It was actually because of me. It wanted to take me out.
I hear a cat crying.
Yeah, that's my cat. He wants to. He's got the zoomies right now.
He wants to be in on the podcast.
I've only had this cat for about a month, and I'll tell you, it's a blessing because he adopted me.
Yeah.
And I've been in this condo by myself, and
he knew you needed him. He picked you because he knew you needed it.
Yeah, he did. He came around the corner, came up the stairs, meowing, and he hasn't left since.
Can you explain a little bit more in depth of the evil spirit that was following you?
I can't say the name simply and only because by giving its name, you give it power.
Give it power.
Yeah.
But what did you do to get rid of it?
Actually, it after 6 years, it just stopped. Of course, I would pray against it, but it's not like it's never come back. It's come back a few more times since then. This was, I'm talking early 2000s, and it still comes back every now and then. And I'll ask, "What's your name?" Thinking I'm speaking to a human spirit, and then all of a sudden I hear that name come through. I'm like, "Oh, it's you again."
Oh God, yeah. Like, what the heck do you want, right?
Exactly.
Back like an obsessed ex.
Yeah, tell me about it. That's the worst kind of obsessed ex you could ever have.
Yeah. You can't say, "Get out of here, get out of here." Like,
that's one ex I wouldn't want to have.
Yeah.
Besides everything is a demon, what other untrue thing are you tired of people
Mm.
saying, probably based because of movies or TV, that you're like, I wish people would stop thinking this?
hmm
Well, actually, I wish people would actually give more credence to the fact that there are nature spirits out there. They're not demonic. They're not human. These are spirits that have predated even humanity.
hmm
And there have been many cases where I've come across nature spirits, and those, in my opinion, are benevolent. They're neither good nor bad. They're just right there in the middle.
hmm
It's just a matter of giving to them what they want, and they'll leave you alone.
Yeah.
So yeah, like this cat, basically wants to eat again. I'm not going to feed him again because I don't want a fat cat.
um, here in Japan, on Amanda's side, you got sad spirits, okay, that have passed away before their time because of the war or whatever else. And on my side, you got the more suicide ones, okay,
Hmm.
and they're the ones that you really don't want to talk to, okay. Like I kind of like, okay, yeah, I know you're here. I push them aside because I've known them to be jealous, angry. Uh, they want what you have, but they can't have it, so they get pissed off. Okay, and it's just another ball game when you're living in a place like this. Even though it's haunted, yeah, it's haunted. Like you can go outside, you find anything haunted, right? It's right in front of your face. But I mean, otherwise, suicide spirits are just another ball game that you just okay,
Hmm.
and it's just everywhere. And it's in the train station. It's on the street. It's on the train crossing. It's just like you can't get away with it, right? You can't get away from it. It's just there. It's the society, and I tend to just ignore it because I have to. I've dealt with it once when I lived in a suicide condo, and I don't want to have anything to do with that anymore because they can hurt you, they can harm you, they can make you sick, they can make sure that you don't have any more money. They can do all the above, and kill you
Yeah.
all at once. And that people really don't realize that. Oh, I'd love to live there. I said, no, you don't. I wouldn't even want my worst enemies to live there. I'm sorry, no. And
Uh-huh.
it's just unbelievable how people would think, oh, that's cool. I said, no, it's not cool. And I don't know. Like they said, I want to live in a haunted house. I said, no, you don't.
I'm sorry. I feel like Dr. Evil right now.
Yeah, yeah. It's just it's really difficult to because sometimes I say, yeah, I have to educate people. Why don't you want to live in a haunted house? Because I did for 20 years. It was hell on earth, and I don't want to do it again.
That's
Yeah,
that's what a lot of people don't seem to understand.
yeah. And people say, I'd love to live in a haunted house. No, you don't. That's all I say. No, you don't. Uh, it's just crazy because they say, that'd be cool to see. That'd be cool. I said, no, it isn't. And gosh darn, I'm sitting here shaking my head and I say, okay, whatever. For me, it's like, whatever.
I've always insisted that wherever I live it's a spirit free zone.
Yep,
I already got enough to deal with my line of work, and
yep, yep,
uh, I just always make sure that I pray over where
yep,
I live, and the only thing that's allowed in here is good.
yep. Me too. People ask, well, since you deal with spirits, why don't you have any haunted items? I said, no, I don't. I don't want any.
I wish,
Uh,
yeah.
you know, dang, like, come on.
I'm
I
always
mean,
coming down on my friend John Zaffis, who
mm,
has a museum full of it. He actually used to have it all in his basement.
Hmm.
And I told him, you got to get that out of there. And
Yeah.
one day he said, okay. So he put it in the barn. He had a barn
Mm.
built just for him, so he could
Mm.
put all of his haunted items in there. But I've never understood why people are so fascinated with getting these haunted items. I prefer to have peace and quiet in my
It's
home.
supposed to be your safe
And
haven.
I actually, it's for attention sometimes, or it's sometimes just a weird
Yeah.
fascination to have something like
Yeah.
that. But I remember one case many years ago, uh, and it wasn't demonic. It was actually a random spirit that followed me back from that case,
Hmm.
and it decided to mess with me.
Hmm.
My whole family was here, and it started making noises.
Mm.
I just turned around and said, first and foremost, shut up. You're not welcome in my house.
Yeah.
Get out.
Yeah.
And I opened the door. It was symbolism. I opened
Mm.
the door and I said, get out. You're not welcome here.
Yeah.
And I never had the issue again.
Yeah.
Because if you entertain them
Yeah.
by communicating with them, but if my communication is get the hell out of here,
Yeah.
they're getting the hell out.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what I usually tell my clients. I said, okay, this is your house, right? You tell whatever it is to get the hell out of your house. They said, why do I have to? Because it's your house. It ain't my house. That's your house, right?
Right.
And they have to learn that you have to do it like with say it like you mean it. They're like, oh, okay, like, but yeah, it's people sometimes really don't know. And I usually tell them, don't invite anything in your domain, or this is your domain and this belongs to you, and everything outside that domain doesn't belong in that in your realm. And that's why I keep on telling people. People really don't understand it, and they come home with all these things, and they come home with with spirit Sally or spirit John. And I said, oh gosh, what the heck did you, or where the hell did you go to, right? And it's just amazing. Like, okay, you know be careful where you're going. And not every haunted place is a good place. Not every haunted place is a nice place too, right?
True. True.
um have you ever had something that really wanted you to say, no, I'm not going to do this anymore?
No.
Okay.
No. Because
Like
I know that it's my calling.
Yeah.
When God calls me home, that's when I'm supposed to quit. And even then, He may have some work for me up there.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Amanda, have you
Just
anything?
because I mean, if he stops, who's going to help the people? Like we always say here, we don't have anyone here to help us. When you lived in that condo, you said it yourself, no one would come help you. So,
No.
I mean, I wish we had that here.
Yeah. It's just like I cried for 20 years, and we had an opportunity to move out because we had to take care of my husband's parents, and they gave us some money to buy this house. So I said, okay, we're going. Like, we packed and we said, I'm going. I'm gone. like, like, we just, it only took me 2 days to put everything in the box. Yeah, we're heading out. And unfortunately, there's no records of anything in this place, in this country. They don't have public records. They don't have um the soil records, what's on the soil or what happened there in the history. There's nothing there that we could research and find out, because if it's bad, like, how can we prevent other people from getting sick and dying? And there's nothing here that we can do that. And either they had him, or they destroyed him, or they just shredded them in this country. And it's really hard to find out anything from anything.
Well, it's because anything
That's
haunted here in Japan, they tend to block it off to the public.
Yeah.
Like there's another haunted forest here in Japan. It's not as well known. It's supposed to be haunted by a spirit of a samurai, and they built a huge fence, and they don't even have a gate, nothing, because they're like, we just don't want anyone to go. I couldn't tell you if this is a good samurai spirit or not, just because everyone's like, they're a samurai spirit, you're going to leave it alone, we're going to build a fence, no, you cannot enter.
Yeah.
Oh, if it's a Samurai Jack, I'd like to hang out with it.
Yeah. They have another one that it's right next to the temple that I go to. That belongs to my family relatives. And what was it? So many. I think I sent it to you. Remember, Amanda? Like these samurai slit the gut open, committed suicide. It's in a cave, but they boarded it up with a fence, and you can't get into it. And it's got a lot of history, and I think it has a lot of history with my family too. And I just want to go there and see what I can feel and just listen to the energy. And I can't even do that. There's a lot of suicide here, like what happened in the past with certain leaders and certain samurai warriors and shoguns and stuff like that. And there's a lot of tombs, or what you call the place that they were laid to rest with just the heads in it, because when they slit open their stomach, somebody behind would chop off their head so they wouldn't feel any more pain.
Good Lord.
But yeah, and the heads would be placed in the grave. And you want to know something? The graves are really active.
Yeah.
And there's one grave that I want to go to. I want to take Amanda, and it's a little bit into the mountains, but it's really, really active. And yeah, they talk like you wouldn't believe. Like you could hear the voices like blah 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 blah. It's just unbelievable. And if you ever get a chance to come to Japan, I'd like to take you to these different places. Not because the hauntings, because the history, and you could see the spirits. They're not afraid to come out and say hi. Yeah.
I would definitely say I've seen more shadow figures here in Japan than I ever did in the United States, and they're just not shy. They'll stand there and be like, "Yeah, I'm here. What are you gonna do about it?"
Yeah. And it's just a different breed, isn't it? Right, Amanda? It's just a different. Like they're not afraid to come out and say, "Ha! What are you gonna do about it?" Right? And they said, "Well, for you, nothing. Bye." Like that's the way that I usually do, because I know what happened to that. And I said, "No, I'm not gonna interact with you. I'm gonna go this way. You can go that way." There's a lot of that going on here too, where you just don't. You're not supposed to. It's just that you don't want to do it, right? Or you shouldn't. And there's a fine line of spirits who have died and by natural causes, and there's another line that suicide, and there's a lot of that here, right? Like like this much, and more suicide than natural, I tell you that much.
Mm-hmm.
And more crazy things that happened, and there's more killings by a different method. It's just a different breed, and it's just a different atmosphere, and they're right in your face like this, and you can feel it right here, and they're not afraid to even come after you if you let them. That's the thing. Go ahead.
Here in Japan, one of the bigger issues is when she says suicides. It's more common than people think, just because with the Buddhist religion, if you're not happy in life, you have the right to commit suicide to try again in the next life.
Yeah,
that's their belief, which creates a lot of these suicide spirits that haunt Japan today.
Yeah, and it's because Amanda's side has more Catholics, because the Spanish ship and the Portuguese ship landed first in Nagasaki, so they have more churches and stuff like that. And plus, there's another place in Nagasaki where 24 followers of the Catholic religion were crucified to death, plus the followers, plus the priests. We call them brothers, okay? They're crucified and they're put to their death on a mountain. And it's tourist attraction, right? Yeah, and they have their names of the people who are crucified, and they have a plaque for each one. And yeah, you can go and visit it. I tell you, it's creepy. I've been there. I've seen it. It's the most horrific thing you've ever seen. And you have on her side where where the atomic bomb landed in
Mm.
Nagasaki, and Nagasaki is more mountainous, right? So people, yeah, did die, but the mountainous kind of like saved a lot of people. So you find that people did get sick, they died, but not as much as in Hiroshima. That's another place that you have to visit. I've been there. They saw me coming when I was on a bus, just going on a tour, and they said, "I can see you," and they said, "Oh shit!" I went, "Damn it!" I looked, and they said, "They pegged you." I said, "Yeah, they pegged me," and they said they knew I was here. And anyways, I went on that. I did an investigation on that. It was pretty tough because I had all my crystals. I had everything. I prayed. I did everything before that investigation. I meditated like throughout the morning, throughout the afternoon, and before I went there. And it was like, yeah, my crystals didn't work. They still came after me, and I said, no, this is my area. You can't come near me. Like, you can talk to me. I'll have a conversation with you, but you can't bother. You can't hurt me. But they went after my knees, and they knew that I had sore knees, and so my knees were killing me by the time I finished that. And I was crawling. I crawled back to the hotel room, but yeah, it was pretty bad. And then there's another place in Hiroshima is the castle where the shogun lived, and that's pretty haunted too. And so it's kind of like creepy, and they had swords that were used in the Edo era, and when you look at them, you could feel the energy like this, and you could feel the other energy where they had been knocked off, and it's just something that you'd want to that you maybe find interesting, but something that I said, no, I'm gonna sit down over here. I'm not gonna do this. My husband said, "What's the matter?" I said, he said, "Was it that bad?" Yeah, it was bad. It's just, and it's still the energy is still there to this day,
I can imagine.
and it's heavy. It makes the air really thick, like you can't breathe, like like this, and you could feel the pain in your gut. Like I was doing this, I was holding my stomach, and it was so bad. It's just one of those crazy places that you happen to live in, where all this crazy stuff happened, right? And a lot of it's residual energy.
What's your favorite thing about being a demonologist?
Helping people.
Yeah.
That's about it. And knowing that, um, I mean, you can't help everyone all the time. There's some people
Mhm.
that are their own worst enemy,
Mhm.
and they keep reinviting whatever myself and the church work so hard to get rid of. But
Mhm.
then there are those that are really appreciative, and those are the best fans,
Yeah.
honestly, because you know you actually helped them in the
Yeah.
process, and they got their life back.
It's
What advice would you give someone who is trying to enter the paranormal field?
yeah.
Um, Make sure that this is something that you really want to do. Research, read a lot of books. I mean, I recommend the books from Hans Holzer's books. I think he wrote somewhere around 148 books. The Warrens as well. You know, a lot of books out there that I recommend. And if you're going to get into the paranormal, make sure that you find someone that's been doing
Mhm.
this for at least 10 to 15 years,
Yeah.
and they can advise you and guide you and give you the best advice that you can possibly get before going into a situation that could eventually, possibly, potentially hurt you and the team that you're with.
Um, I really appreciate that quote because a lot of people go into certain places and they come out being haunted by something, or they come out with an attachment. You go in alone, you come out with two, right?
It's possible. Yes, you
Yeah.
have to be very, very careful. You have to prepare yourself spiritually before going into a place. You have to remember that if you're going to investigate on the behalf of another of a family, or you're going into a location that is, you know, reputedly haunted, um, you have to go in spiritually prepared,
Yeah.
because you're dealing with spirits. And
Mhm.
I don't understand how some people can just go into locations that are believed to be haunted or have spiritual activity and not actually prepare themselves spiritually for any kind of attack.
Yeah.
Because they've seen it on TV.
And they
Yeah.
think it's, I call it the monkey see monkey do effect,
Yeah, I've
and it's
I've had
unfortunate.
so many public. I can't do I could not do public investigations anymore just because there are some good public investigations, some good groups, but I've also been on some who ended early. It's because the people saw it on TV, and when they got there, I've had some that ended before the first hour was up because they weren't getting the evidence that they thought they were because they saw it
Yeah.
on TV. And I'm just like, it is a wait around.
Yeah.
It is a sit around, wait around. You may or may not get something. It may be hours for you to get something. You may not get as good as what they see on TV. It might just be a little bit of decent evidence. You might get some good evidence. You never know.
It's just like what Mr. Joshua Dixon just said there. It's the
Mhm.
TikTok generation.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
I call it. The
Yeah.
TikTok investigators who just do it for
Yeah.
the views.
They do it for the
Um.
views. They do it. They expect something. It's like spirits are not there to entertain us,
No.
Yeah.
or, you know, if they happen to try to engage with us,
Yeah.
great. If they don't, oh well, at least you tried.
Yeah.
But you know, you better hope and pray that it's a human
Yeah.
Yeah.
spirit.
Yeah.
That's all I'm going to say when it comes to
Yeah.
that.
Because you don't know what it is. What do you think about incubus and succubus?
There, the incubus succubus, in my opinion, is uh, they're both the same.
Mm-hmm.
They can interchange. They literally, if a woman's being attacked by an incubus, it can also be a succubus to a man. It's the
Mm-hmm.
same.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same gender, but it is. I do believe it is demonic.
Mm-hmm. We got a lot of those here too.
If
Yeah.
someone has a haunting in their house, where would you advise them to reach out to try and get the actual help they need?
Do your research. Don't just pick any eeny, meeny, miny, mo
Mm-hmm.
paranormal team. Make sure
Yeah.
that they've been established for a while,
Mm-hmm.
and they come highly recommended. Ask around.
Mm-hmm.
Get you know, recommendation
Yeah.
from individuals that have had the team come out and they said they actually did help, because there's so many teams out there nowadays. For case in point, you know, with the Paranormal Clergy Institute, which is the one that I run,
Mm-hmm.
and was given to me by Bishop James Long. Um, the teams that we work with, I actually do an extensive background search with every single one of them
Mm-hmm.
before I actually have them work for us, because they're going to be taking cases. They're going to be the first ones to go in on the behalf of the clergy,
Mm-hmm.
and I need to make sure that it's just not a bunch of yahoos that are doing this just to get a thrill.
Right.
What do
So
you what do you say about the people who want you need help, but then they say, "I'll go and investigate your house, but it's going to cost you $50."
oh no, That's first off, it's unethical to charge
Yeah,
someone for this. Number two, um, for those teams that are out there, and I'll state this straight up. If there are teams out there and they are listening to this show, I will tell you right now, if you are one of those teams that charge people, I wish it was $50. With all due respect, Irene,
I know.
I know of
It's
people.
just the
I know of
number that
teams
just
that
rubs.
have charged $1,500 to 2,000.
Yeah,
Okay, to come out and investigate or do an exorcism or to do a cleansing, and I'm like, are you're kidding, right? I
yeah,
mean, this is not going to get you anywhere.
yeah,
But these individuals are constantly out there, and they give the rest of us within this field a very bad name.
yeah. That's the same reason that I do not like people who say, "I'll give you a reading, but it's gonna cost you $100, and it's gonna cost you $10 a card." And I said, "Excuse me, like
Well,
really?"
with all due respect to people that do this for a living and do readings, and let's say they do have the gift, I believe they have the right to charge for something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
But make sure they're legitimate. Make
yeah,
sure they come highly recommended.
yeah,
But when it comes to investigations,
yeah.
no, I don't think that's ethical.
Like we're there here to provide a service to help people, and I don't think we should be charging an arm and a leg
thought
just
it
to
was
help a
like
person.
I
Yeah,
thought it was one of those unwritten rules when I first started
yeah,
investigating. You don't
yeah,
charge. Now I'm finding out from people that some people do charge. And I'm like, well, that's
yeah,
just taking advantage of a bad
yeah.
situation for someone.
Exactly.
I just don't understand that. I can understand that. Yeah, I'll charge for gas to get out to your place, but yeah, I understand that. Like $10 for gas. Yeah, I get that too. Yeah, okay, that's normal. That's cool. No problem with that. But yeah, because there are teams out there who want money, and it's just unbelievable. And I'm wondering, are you a legitimate paranormal team that will go out and help these people, or do you just want money? You know?
Thankfully, there aren't that many out there, but the ones that are out there are still getting away with it.
Yeah. Eh, th-
They would probably never take on a case like you did for 5 or 6 years. They're probably one of those teams that try and wrap it up within a day and say it was resolved just because they want the money and run.
Yeah.
well, 15 minutes, not even a day, maybe half an hour, the most that they'll do, and said, "Okay, I'm done. Bye." Like, where's my money? Like, yeah. It's just, it's just sacrilege. I think, as far
It
as I'm
is.
concerned.
We had
Um.
someone came and said that they had to go and do a case because the person walked in, told this elderly lady, "You have two demons in your house that you cannot get rid of. You also have a portal in your house that you cannot close," and left. So when the lady told him this, he's like, "I made the drive to go up there and I solved it myself." And I was like, "There's no demon you can't just never get rid of. You can't
Yeah.
tell someone, oh, you have a demon, but there's no possible way for them to leave. You have a
Yeah.
portal. There's no possible way for you to close it." I'm like, "You're just creating panic in this lady in her house for no
Yeah.
absolutely reason."
They use fear in order to keep these people and from doing anything positive in their life. And usually, all they really need. I mean, I've solved cases over the phone,
Hmm.
and I haven't had to even drive out. And all of a sudden, I get a call back saying the phenomenon happened. I said because it wasn't a phenomenon. It was radi. It was. Uh, it was what's it called? Uh, the name escapes me, but it's EMF radiation
Hmm.
sickness.
Hmm.
The person had their alarm clock, which was hooked up to the wall, but EMF radiation can come from just about anything.
Hmm.
Uh, and I told them move it from next to your head across the room.
Hmm.
They were getting headaches. They thought they were seeing things on the corner of their eye,
Hmm.
and it stopped. The next day, they
Yeah.
called me and they thanked me.
Yeah.
I didn't have to even go out.
Yeah.
Right.
That's
All right, we're
interesting.
gonna wrap it up right now with Rich. Rich, we do appreciate you coming on the show. Hopefully, maybe one day in the future we'll have you on again.
We'll come
We
back
loved
again.
we loved hearing your insight. So hopefully we'll see you again.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for having me on your
Yeah.
show. I appreciate it.
And
We,
thank you, Rich, for coming.
yeah, we
And
appreciate you taking the time to join us.
and
Thank
thank you, the audience, for chatting in and responding to us. Thank you very much also for watching the show.
Yes,
Thank
and
you
we
all.
will see you guys next time. Bye for now.
Bye.